And welcome back to Trini Chronicles, everybody. I am your host, Trini Barbie, aka Dawn. I am here today for a special episode. As you guys know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this is a topic that is very near and dear to me. Making sure that we as a community get the help that we need. So don't forget to like, share, and comment on this post. Don't forget to like and share my page, Trini Chronicles, for more information on mental health. And today we have a special guest with us. We have Miss Mechelle Frazier of Work in Progress, Tuscaloosa, and she is going to she's going to tell us how important it is for us as a community to take better care of our mental health, take better care of our health, period. But today we're focusing on mental health. And I just want to say, welcome, Miss Frazier, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. And just tell my audience a little bit about who you are, the office that you work for, and the different services that you guys provide.
Okay, so I am Mechelle Frazier. I am the Assistant Clinical Director at Work in Progress Counseling. I work out of the Tuscaloosa office, but our main office is located in Birmingham. So we provide individual, family, couples therapy. We provide it for a lot of different issues, from anxiety to depression, PTSD, even simple like phase of life issues. When people have big transitions in their life, a lot of times you can be stressed, your mental health can be impacted, whether that's through divorce, loss of a loved one, new parent, new marriage, just overwhelmed with work. We kind of see a variety of different things come through our office.
Right. And people don't realize how you say, even though it's not a loss, it's something new coming into your life, how that can affect your mental health. People don't realize it. So do you mind touching a little bit about, we've always heard mental health issues after a major something. After, say, like we just went through COVID, people that's dealing with depression, dealing with anxiety from that, or something like PTSD, people coming from that. But you never really hear people seeking help for something new in their life. So do you mind touching a little bit about on that, on how do you guys kind of navigate that or help navigate?
Well, a lot of times it's even good things can be stressful. A new marriage, a new job, moving to a new house. Sometimes people have all those things come at once, and it can be a lot to adjust to handle, balancing your schedule, navigating who you are now that you have a partner, or now that you have this role as a mother or a father. So how to maintain your sense of self and also consider the needs of other people. A lot of times we help people reevaluate, what their values are, what their new values may be, where that shift in mindset comes in, or even how to reprioritize and find balance again. We are really big at our office on boundaries and self-care. So making sure that the client is checking those and see where they are, and if they have good, healthy, strong boundaries and self-care practices, so that they don't get overwhelmed.
Oh, wow. I may need to call y'all.
Okay.
Because I mean, like I said, you've always heard people go, if they do go for a major loss or a major traumatic experience, but you rarely hear them go when it's something new in their life, and how do they properly navigate that. That is so refreshing to hear. Because people will go to church. They'll go to church and but you still, that is the spiritual side. You have to take care of the emotional side of it as well, because you can know how to navigate something spiritually and physically, but not emotionally. And that has a lot to play in our mindset and how we handle things throughout the day.
Right. And I think the thing about mental health is people view all of that separate: mental health, physical health, your spiritual well-being, emotional, financial. All of those things are a cluster of issues. If something gets thrown off whack, it can throw the whole train off the track. So when you come for counseling for mental health, we may not just be looking at, oh, are you depressed? We may be looking at, okay, what are causing these things? What is causing you to be overwhelmed? Is there something that we need to get back in order? Do you need help looking at what your priorities are in those different areas? A lot of times people think it's just a dire thing by the time you see a therapist. You want to get in before it gets to that point. It's just as important as going for your checkups every year, for screenings for different things. You're just maintaining your health in all aspects.
Right. I mean, you take your car for a regular, every time it needs an oil change, you take it like clockwork.
Yeah.
You do not miss something, otherwise that car is not going to run the way it's supposed to.
And it may not be something you need every week, or it may just be as needed. It could be to get you through an issue or a particular time in your life, and where you check back in to make sure you're maintaining. But it's always good at least to go periodically and see it and make sure you're okay.
Okay. It's always good to check in.
Mm-hmm.
It's always good. And we as a community we're on this kick of self-care. And everybody thinks self-care is about getting your nails done, getting your hair done. No, you have to make sure self is okay.
Yes.
Because if you're getting your nails done, getting your hair done, and you can't answer why questions of why am I doing this? Why is it like this? You can't answer those questions. You're missing a very important part of the self-care.
Right. So usually when there is a problem occurring, what I see with people, self-care is the first thing that goes out the window, because I think we as a people are so like work oriented and keep it moving and keep it pushing, that I'll get to that later once I'm done with X, Y, and Z. And sometimes you just have to prioritize that to maintain your peace so you can get through the X, Y, and Z. And I think sometimes a lot of that comes from how we are raised. And I'm the product of a family where people worked hard. And so that wasn't necessarily something I was taught right away.
I just had this conversation with somebody this morning. And you have brought up such an important aspect of the conversation, because a lot of it comes from your childhood. A lot of it comes from, I grew up in a house that we didn't necessarily talk about stuff. We just didn't deal with it. We didn't talk about it. We didn't address it, kind of skipped over it, we're going to move on to something else. If it comes back up, then maybe we might deal with it. We're just going to sweep it under the rug for the time frame, but we're going to keep moving. As long as we keep moving, we feel we are okay. But at the end of the day, the issue is still not resolved. So it still comes up, and then we have to find other coping mechanisms. We become high functioning depressants. We become very highly functioning because we still moving, we still dealing with our stuff, but at the same time we not dealing with it. We still moving, we still working, we still getting through the day. But when we actually sit back and are by ourselves, it's like, okay, the problem is still here.
Right, it is. And so a lot of times we don't pay attention to the mental. And so I've learned because the mental affects the physical, there's certain things I listen for. If a person tells me that they are drained and they are always tired and they don't get out much anymore and they have trouble with their sleep patterns. Okay, well, let's explore that a little deeper. Because in my mind, I'm like, well, we may be dealing with some depression. Let me assess further. Let me talk to them more. So yeah, it can affect you in all ways.
So when somebody comes into your office, what are some of, you said there's certain cues that you listen for, there's certain words that you listen for. How would that initial, what's the word, evaluation?
Okay, so
what would that look like?
We call it the intake session. So that would be them coming in and really just discussing what was the initial thing that brought them to the office. For me, it's always something, and it is not one thing right away in that call. I always ask, what was that thing that kind of broke the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will, because they may have been dealing with it or pushing it down. So we get to that presenting problem, and then I start getting background information, kind of like how they identify, what do they do, where do they work, what is their family history, is there any family history of mental illness. A lot of times people will say no, and I will ask it in a way of, do you notice certain things about certain relatives? Do they exhibit certain behaviors? And they'll, like, now that you think about it, my grandmother was nervous a lot all the time, or I did have that uncle that kind of just stayed in his room a lot, or someone that's a veteran that dealt with PTSD. So it's gaining that family history, gaining their history, trying to find out if there's trauma in that person's background. I'll be honest with you, a lot of times people will say no, either because it's not something they're ready to talk about yet, or certain things we discuss later, they didn't realize it's traumatic because it was such the norm in their family. So then I have to point it out, and we just kind of learn what trauma is, what the signs and symptoms are. I may just call out some things and they'll say, yeah, I deal with that. I do have, yes, that does have triggers. Yes, I do have nightmares. So yeah, we kind of look at the family, where they came from, where there's certain patterns that were established that were unhealthy coping mechanisms. We go through a lot of that and then also I love to ask people, if you felt like things were going well and you felt normal or that you were okay, what would that look like for you? And so I would let them take a little time to think about that. I could write a treatment plan and say, hey, it sounds like you have this, these are our goals, but I don't think people are invested in something if they didn't have their input. Like, this is what I want for myself. This is what I know will help me feel better. So I love to incorporate people's goals and what they want for themselves into our treatment. Not only that, if they are a spiritual person, I don't shy away from that either. If that is something that helps you make it through the day, we're going to incorporate your spiritual beliefs into that as well.